How God honors women. Marriage is a direct parallel to God and the church. Paul calls this a profound mystery in Ephesians 5:32. Marriage shows the watching world how God treats his bride. Every husband represents God. Every wife represents the church. When we break this covenant, we misrepresent God himself. The greater burden. 3 authorities. A man submits to the perfect authorities, Christ and God. But a woman submits to 3, God, Christ, and her husband, a fallible human. When she submits to imperfection in obedience to God, she trusts him to work through a flawed vessel. This extraordinary faith is why God defends her so fiercely. When God refuses men's prayers, Malachi 13-14 records men weeping at God's altar, asking why does he not accept their offerings. God answers, because the Lord was witness between you and the wife of your youth, to whom you have been faithless, though she is your companion and your wife by covenant. The Hebrew bagad means covenant breaking, treachery against God himself. Peter reinforces this in 1 Peter 3-7. Husbands must honor their wives as heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. The Greek enkopto means cut off, creating an impassable barrier to God. Dishonor your wife, and you misrepresent how God treats his bride. The standard, Christ's sacrificial death. Ephesians 5:25 commands, husbands, love your wives, as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. The Greek paradidomi means surrendered to death, Christ's crucifixion. Colossians 3:19 adds, husbands, love your wives, and do not be harsh with them. Your marriage shows the world what God is like. Are you displaying a God who dominates, or a God who dies for his beloved? God's provision and protection. Deuteronomy 14:28-29 commands that every 3rd year the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow shall come and eat and be filled. God redirected his own tithe to feed vulnerable women, demonstrating faithful provision for his bride. Exodus 20:22-24 warns, you shall not mistreat any widow. If you do, and they cry out to me, I will surely hear their cry, and my wrath will burn. The Hebrew sak is the same word for Israel's cry from Egyptian slavery in Exodus 3-7. God responds to abused women with the intensity he showed enslaved Israel. Deuteronomy 24:17 adds, you shall not pervert the justice due to the sojourner or to the fatherless, or take a widow's garment in pledge. Each protection reveals his faithful care. When women cried out, God answered. 1 Samuel 1:10 records Hannah in bitterness of soul, weeping bitterly at the temple. The Hebrew bakabako doubles the verb for intensity. Verse 19 says the Lord remembered her, and she bore Samuel. Genesis 21:17 shows God responding to Hagar. God heard the voice of the boy, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven. The Hebrew shama means responding, answering. When the widow of Zarephath had nothing baked, only a handful of flour, and prepared to eat it and die. 1 Kings 17:12. God sustained her because the jar of flour was not spent, according to the word of the Lord. Verse 16. Each response demonstrates his faithful care for his bride. The heart of the matter. God honors women because they bear the greater burden, submitting to imperfect authority in obedience to him. But marriage itself is the earthly picture of Christ and the church. When husbands fail to love sacrificially, they misrepresent God. When wives are dishonored, the world sees a false picture of how God treats his bride. Brothers, your marriage is a sermon about God's character. Honor your wife sacrificially, or lose your witness and access to God. Sisters, your Creator sees your sacrifice and defends you fiercely, because you display the church's faithful submission to Christ. Both husbands and wives honor God's character and model his relationship with the church.